Well, the biggest information we know right now is that officer was shot in the chest. He's in serious condition. He was taken to the hospital. Now, this all began with a domestic dispute. There was an order of protection against the suspect. The officer responded to that domestic dispute. Well, the suspect began to drive away. The officer followed him. They crashed. That's when there was an exchange of gunfire, and that officer was shot in the chest. Now, at this time, he is being treated at the hospital. They are caring for him. Des Moines Sergeant Paul Parizek told us that when something like this happens, the whole city responds. And we saw that outpouring firsthand yesterday, too. Cars lined up for miles to drop off supplies and food for people here in Greenfield. Governor Reynolds said they had to start turning people away. Now, they will need volunteers later on down the line, but right now their main focus is keeping organized and trying to keep everybody safe while they continue that cleanup.
I think what I remember about being here last year was just so many things of people's lives scattered everywhere, from teddy bears to baby blankets to family photos. One lady even told us that she had found her prom dresses in all of the rubble that she wore years beforehand.
I also talked to a woman, her niece Misty. They're already planning on helping the people that were impacted by the situation. Misty's already coming up with ideas on how do we give blood, how do we give food to these families, how do we come together as a community now, and to just see this quick turnaround from trauma into wanting to help the community. It's amazing to see that already.
Well, you can just see the building behind me, how much damage it's taken, both from the fire itself and the firefighters trying to contain the flames in that building. Now, just a little while ago, we saw flames still popping up every now and then. Firefighters were tearing down the siding to hit the flames with water from multiple angles. They still haven't been able to enter the building because that ground floor ceiling is caving in.
And what you're looking at behind me is a garage that has sustained a lot of damage on Dewey Street. Now, we spoke to the family who owns this garage. Everyone is safe and okay. Their house didn't sustain a lot of damage, but they're still waking up to a big mess. They heard a huge snap after they heard the tornado sirens last night around 1 o'clock, and they haven't been able to sleep since. Well, Scott, we were here earlier this morning, and it was kind of the calm before the storm, because now those risers are really starting to fill up. And when we say all eyes are on Iowa, we mean it. All media is here. CBS, ABC, NBC. I've heard so many different languages just walking around. Everybody is waiting to see what happens tonight. That rainfall directly aligns with where we're seeing the biggest slowdown in the metro right now. Check out the western suburbs, and then check out these drive times. You're right according to your West Mix, 25 minutes. And if you're making your way all the way into downtown, you're looking at about a 40-minute drive right now. Thanks, David. Taking you out to the roads right now, where a big mess is unfolding at US 65 in University. Just east of US 65, we have a multi-vehicle crash that was just reported in the last couple of minutes. Now, this is going to impact a lot of folks that might be heading out to the fairgrounds here shortly. If you are coming from Pleasant Hill, Prairie City, Monroe, even those DART buses that take you from Southeast Polk all the way into the fairgrounds, this is going to slow you down because University is actually blocked, so you can't get off there on I-35. So this is what they suggest instead on the Hinterland website. Hop off at Highway 92. You're going to take that east towards Martinsdale, then head south on 40th Avenue, and then that highway right there, G50, is going to take you right into St. Charles. Now, keep in mind, you have those shuttles out there, you have workers out there, you have campers out there, so it's going to be a little busy, but practice some patience. That nice weather and all those incredible acts are going to be worth the wait. This is what's left of Joe and Joanna's bedroom, and what we're stepping into is where they used to spend their Christmases and Easters and family gatherings. This morning has been about finding whatever memories are left in the wreckage of what used to be their home.
So it looks like it just kind of sucked everything out and just put it right here on the lawn.
Sarah Robinson is the daughter of Joe and Joanne Frank Saint.
So this used to be the kitchen.
She called them Friday nights.
I even sent my mom a picture moments before the tornado hit Osceola, and I said, make sure that you're in your safe space.
They took shelter in a lower level bathroom.
They could hear the house being ripped apart around them. I got a phone call from my mom maybe a half hour later saying the house is gone.
75 years of family photos, handmade art projects, and heirlooms now scattered.
When you go through, you realize this is what's important, not the walls.
Not the walls,
but the things that can't be replaced.
My mom is hoping that her grandparents' wedding photo is under there somewhere.
But Joe and Joanne aren't the only ones picking up the pieces. Family, friends, and even complete strangers lent a helping hand.
People that they've never even met are showing up with chainsaws and skid loaders and just saying, hey, I'm so-and-so from down the street, how can I help? The tornado didn't even move the router.
Sarah says she's grateful for the unwavering support and even more grateful that the most important things in the house were unharmed.
If I had a message for anyone watching, it would be when you hear them say, take shelter, do that. Because if my parents hadn't listened, they would have still been sitting on their couch right there.
Joe and Joanne are safe and sound, and Sarah found something they thought they might have lost forever.
And it was hanging at the head of this bed. It's right here.
Awesome.
We found it where we thought it was. It had landed directly on the bed and was protected by the wall that fell onto it.
Oh, good. That makes me so happy. There were just a few things that I wanted to make sure I had. Oh, neat.
In Osceola, Alyssa Gomez, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
A little bit of good news.
There's a somber feeling in Perry today as people process the tragedy that unfolded at their school, and many of them are saying the same thing.
We would never think something like this would happen in our town.
Jordan, Olivia, and Isaiah are members of the Perry Jazz Band. They got to school early Thursday morning for practice. Their director was discussing a song, and then
In the middle of it, we just heard this loud pop. We thought like the board fell or a balloon had popped, so everybody just kind of, paused, froze there. We didn't know what to do, what was happening, what was going on. But then a second and third shot,
a fire exit connected to the band room led them to outside.
So our teacher opened the door and told everybody to run.
But then the realization hit. Where were their loved ones? Like Olivia's mom.
She's a teacher in the middle school, and I texted her to run.
Or Jordan's sister.
I tried to run back a little bit because my sister is a student at the middle school, and I was so worried for her. But Olivia stopped me, and I'm very grateful that she did because my sister ended up still being at home.
Now, a day later, they aren't in school, but at a local coffee shop, leaning on one another for support and processing their emotions.
My brain couldn't process what was going on.
After a while, it doesn't happen, and you let your guard down, and then it happens.
And hoping their community can heal from the tragedy. In Perry, Alyssa Gomez, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
The sounds of the Roosevelt barbershop have stayed the same through the years. The red, white, and blue barbershop pole still spins near the entrance, but on the window outside, there's an addition to that iconic name.
Dreamers Roosevelt Barbershop.
The new owners wanted to honor the legacy created inside for more than 100 years. Since 1919, gentlemen have walked into Roosevelt with unruly hair and 5 o'clock shadows and left with either a fresh shave or a new do. Rick Atkinson is not quite as old as the shop itself, but he's been around consoling customers since even before the Cubs let the playoffs slip through their hands in '03.
Everybody's talking about the game last night and the loss.
He's seen the Cubbies score a World Series win now, and he still sits in a chair across from the big screen, where he can walk you through the history of the shop decade by decade.
Started around 1919, 2021, in the building around the corner where the cleaners is now. And then they built the center in 1934. They had a major fire, and then they moved up in here in the 60s.
Rick bought the place in '98, catering to his bustling clientele, until the constant buzzing of razors turned into a deafening quiet in 2020.
They struggle in 1 or 2 at a time at the most, but we'll go an hour, maybe have 1 or 2 customers. And so it's a long day.
The shop survived with some new names and faces, except for the man in the last chair. Following the pandemic, Rick decided it was time for a new generation to take over. And that's when he met Luis.
When he told me the story of being a dreamer and how it all came about, and it just, we knew right away he was the one, and so it worked out good.
4 chairs down, Luis is laser focused on his clients It's a busy Friday morning with back-to-back appointments. Throughout the weekend, he says his chair is almost always full, and it's a feeling he loves.
And I like to meet new people every day and interact with customers. And I told my wife, you know, this is it. I feel like home.
For Luis, the passing of the torch was more than just a business venture. It was the culmination of patience, hope, and an unexpected opportunity for an immigrant student, the Dreamers program.
I tried a couple times to go to the barber school, but they always say no because they always want some kind of legal status for you to go to college. So when the program happened, and Obama was on the office, you know, I got nothing to lose.
It's the only reason Luis was able to earn his license. It's also the reason on a Friday morning, there's a revolving door of customers entering and exiting. Ultimately, it's the reason Luis can fill the chairs with other Latino barbers, opening doors for others.
This is the first place I've actually ever worked where I feel like we're actually not being cliche, but actually friends and family.
While still honoring the history of Roosevelt.
It gives you a whole new perspective, and they're all such great barbers. There's just an electricity that with the younger people, and I always wanted to see the shop continue, and that's the greatest thing.
It's been having like 3-4 generation like gentlemen coming here from the grandparent, father, and son, adults that they are already like 30, and they said, hey, I got my first haircut here.
As generations passed through before, they'll continue to with 2 names on the door. One that honors the past, one that inspires the future.
Always be patient, and your time will come. Doesn't matter what you do in life. If you push, you put the hours into it, you will accomplish. If you dream it, you can build it.
In Des Moines, Alyssa Gomez, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.